You like stores that aren't around anymore?
I do, Tom. I do. You know, uh, travel down memory lane for this one, Tom, and probably the oldest one that I can recall is a store called Best. They were so fucking arrogant. They just called their store Best. You remember these stores, Tom?
Fuck no.
Well, they had the distinction. It was a weird concept because they had like a whole toy section and a sporting goods, that was off on its own, and they had a kick-ass toy selection. But the rest of the store was all just displays. Like if they had a toaster oven there, it was on display and you could look at it or whatever. And then if you wanted to get it, you'd tell one of their salespeople, and then they would go back and get it for you. It was it was just a weird concept, and all their stores looked different. They didn't, have the same. The people that owned this place were real into architecture, so they had one that looked like the building was fucking falling apart. And they had one that looked all space age. Uh, Real strange shit. And I guess they were around until like 86, maybe 90 something. But yeah, when I was a kid, it was like they had like the coolest toy section around. I remember this was when Star Wars first came out, and they had all the new Star Wars toys. It was just a sight to see. And they had the Micronauts toys. They had all fucking kinds of action figures. Um, pretty cool place, Tom.
Hey, Tom was born in 1985. You
Mm-hmm.
remember this store Best?
I
It
think it was
closed in
around to like 96.
1986.
I don't
Sorry, Joe. I was in Chicagoland at that time.
know. They were all over the U.S., Tom.
Were they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that place at all.
Yeah. Ask your mom. See
I
if she.
will. Hey, Mom, did you ever go to the barrio and go to this store Best? See, mijo, see. Muy bueno. My number 5, Joe, is also a toy store that were in malls. And this was KB Toys. They didn't have the best selection, but what they did have was reasonably priced. This is a place where I got a lot of the Marvel Universe collections. It was like repackaged figures from the X-Men and Spider-Man lines in a different packaging because, it's the collector's boom and it's fizzling out. But if we put this in a different box, we might be able to get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. They had a lot of threes for 7.99s, and it was a beautiful time. But unfortunately, the stores were very small, and if people were in there, it was very hard to get through,
Yeah.
especially being a fat fucking kid. So, mhm. KB Toys, rest and empowerment.
At number 4, Tom, have a store that was in the malls. This was a toy store. It's called KB Toys. Now, I wasn't exactly a kid at this. I guess I would be more of a collector at that time. So I'm just buying shit just to buy it because I'm fucking dumb. Uh, but they didn't have the best selection. But what they had was a clearance section. It would be like maybe 3 figures for like $7.99. I got a lot of shit like the Aliens figures and Swamp Thing figures, and Fantastic Four had a line of figures, and I picked up some of those. And the only drawback is they put these stickers on the fucking packaging, on the cardboard, and you couldn't get that shit off without ripping off the cardboard.
You
Uh,
heat it up, Joe,
mm,
with a blow dryer or a heat gun.
Well, I
Now
still
you
have
know.
the Swamp Thing figures. I don't know that I have any of the Aliens figures. I might have sold those off already. But yeah,
Tragic.
KB Toys.
Those fucking aliens figures were huge. I fucking don't even and didn't even like those fucking alien figures, but I had a couple of them. I know I had like a gorilla alien figure where it had a rubber head and you squeeze it and I'd fill it up with my little boy loads and then it would shoot out of its mouth.
Right onto Vasquez's face. Take that.
You whore. Oh, mercy. Joe, number 4. I had a store in the mall. Most malls had this. You could get music and movies from this store, physical editions. It was a good store. It was a Goody store, Joe. It was Sam Goody, where you could go and get physical copies of movies and music. I'm guessing you went to this store as well.
Sam Goody's. I would always confuse them with was it Sun Chase? Was there a place called Sun Chase that was like the same kind of shit?
Sun Coast,
Sun Coast. There you
the
go.
movie store?
Yeah. Well, they had records and shit. Not records, but CDs. Right?
Not
No.
Sun Coast, no.
Okay. Well, Sam Goody. Sam Goody. I remember them having like that fucking anime. Like
Anima.
yeah, they had a whole anime section. I just remember them being fucking really high priced on a lot of their stuff.
They probably were, Joe, because it was in the mall and that's where you had to go and get it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you go now.
Okay, so Tom, my number 3 was a place that was in the mall, and this was a bookstore by the name of Walden Books.
What?
Yeah.
Goosebumps.
Now, at the time, the publishing industry was pretty different, and they had everything sectionalized. You had your science fiction section, you had your horror section, you had you know all kinds of shit, and picked up a lot of books from there. Also picked up like magazines like Fangoria or whatever, and they also carried comic books. Tom, they had a spinner rack, but a fancy spinner rack, not a wire one. It was like plastic, so the comics weren't all fucked up in them. And this was also at the beginning of the trade paperback. When they were starting to do that, collected editions, graphic novels, they called them. So I picked up a lot of that shit from there too. Walden Books. So
That was definitely a stop for me. I would go in there for the magazines and the floppies. On their fantastic spinner racks that were plastic, you see.
yeah.
Joe, number 3. It was Joe. Sorry, I had a stroke.
Okay.
Number 3, it was not in a mall, but they were located by a mall and recently closed down in the last few years and then popped up in the last couple years inside of Macy's for some fucking reason. And this is Toys R Us, and the R was backwards because they were pirates, you see. Yep. Fucking during the gay 90s, they had their fucking giant ass figure aisles and shit. Fucking just aisles and aisles of figures. It seemed at one point like half of one fucking aisle was all Star Wars and the other half was all fucking Spawn shit.
Yep.
Then you would go around, and then you would have your Marvel and DC shit, and then you'd go around and you have all your fucking wrestling shit, aisles and aisles of figures. It was a wonderful time for a child who liked to stick the heads of action figures in his penis hole, Joe.
Yeah, they carried a lot of the McFarlane shit, the movie maniacs and the like, but some of them were a little different, right? They had like edited versions or some shit.
Yes, they had one where Angela had underwear on, Joe. Remember when you learned about that a couple weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, to hell with him. That's what I say.
Yeah. Uh, Tom at number 2. This place was not in a mall, but it seemed to be the size of a mall. And this was Fry's Electronics. Uh, so they all had a theme, and they all had like a little cafe in the middle of it, you know. But fuck all that. I was there for their huge movie section, and they had a lot of shit. They had a lot of CDs and fairly reasonably priced. Uh, their computer shit was good. I remember getting my first Epson from there, and I think I picked up a laptop from there. And their staff was knowledgeable. How about that shit? You know? Um, yeah. When I first moved here to Dallas, there was still one here, but it's like it was like a ghost fucking town, man. Like a lot of the aisles were empty, and it's like they were just holding on, clinging on to life, you know, for as long as they could. And I guess people like people that know how to build computers, they would still go and get shit from them or whatever because they weren't really selling much of anything else. Uh, yeah, yeah, sad day.
Yeah, it's weird. You would think with the reasonable prices they had and everything that they had, the store would still be open. But yeah, towards the end of it, there was like nobody fucking there, and their DVD section just kept getting smaller and smaller and
Yeah,
smaller.
and it was all like it wasn't good shit either. It was all like Mill Creek stuff and shit like that, compilation DVDs.
At the end. But I
Right.
mean, they used to have like the boutique labels
Yeah,
at
they
the
had all that
time.
shit before anybody else did. You know, before because even
I would say shit like a Synapse.
yeah,
Those were the boutique labels at the time.
yeah.
Yeah. Rest in empowerment. If we were doing a top 6 list, that would have been number 6.
Hmm.
Mm. But it wasn't, Joe. My number 2, Sun Crust or something. Is that the name of it? It
I
was in a
believe so.
mall.
Yeah.
They had an Animas section or something. Suncoast Video, where you would pay a lot more for something, but chances are they fucking had it. And back then, you know, there was only a couple spots you can go. You couldn't get on the internet and shit. So if you wanted a VHS copy of Phantasm 3 and they fucking had it, you better fucking pick it up there, you fat titted mo, because you're probably not going to find it anywhere else. And then they had those fancy posters I was talking about, where it's the poster that's shrink wrapped on a giant piece of cardboard. Oh my God, how fucking amazing. Suncrust, rest in empowerment.
Right next to Hickory.
Fuck yeah. Smoked meat in movies.
At number 1, Tom, I probably spent more money on DVDs and video games and fucking books and graphic novels than any other place, and that is Hastings. Uh, didn't have one in Corpus where I lived, but where my brother lived in Round Rock, there was one. And then driving, I guess, into whatever town is before San Antonio, there was one there too. And I would stop at them and I would fucking load up on shit. I'd find all kinds of good shit there. and again, reasonably priced. It was like 3 for $10 or some shit like that, or they had other kind of specials that they would go on. Uh, got a lot of like Blue Underground stuff from there, a lot cheaper than you would usually find it. Synapse stuff, which is usually expensive as shit, but all their used stuff was good. I got a lot of Asian action and horror movies from that place. A lot of graphic novels. See, I would spend so much money in this fucking place when I go in. But lamentably, it is gone forever.
Mm. Well, Joe, my number one is a place that had it was a big place, Joe. It had music, it had movies, it had books, it had magazines, it had t-shirts in it. It had posters, it had little countercultural knickknacks and things like that, Joe. And this was Tower Records. Have you heard of this place?
I have.
Man, did they blow Suncrust out of the water when they opened up one of those in front of a mall. Hey, look at all this shit that's reasonably priced. I can't believe it. I'm a young fucking punk kid. I'm just going to walk in there and steal everything. And that's what I did, Joe.
I just don't like climbing stairs, Tom. So I was never a fan of Tower.
Take the elevator. But yeah, they had a fucking good movie section, a great music section. That was when I gave a fuck about music. And their magazine section was awesome. That's where I would go to get my goosebumps. And, whatever I couldn't afford to pay for, I would just ride my bike up there, stick it between my butt cheeks, and then walk out. If you want this Goosebumps book, you're going to have to dig in my ass. Little did I know the security guard was a pedophile. So, Joe, those were our top 5 stores that no longer exist.
Gone, but not forgotten.